Hello and welcome to Lilith Astrology. My name is Adama, and today I'm going to be going over the big bad Pluto through all 12 houses. So Pluto, besides being demoted from a planet to a dwarf planet or comet or whatever, Pluto needs to be respected, in my opinion, in the birth chart. Not only because I'm a Scorpio, but because of the powerful, transformative, deep energy that it holds. I would say out of all of the planets, Pluto is just such a potent, extremely deep, dark, transformative, and important planet. It's the one responsible for a lot of massive changes in our lives and transformative things that happen, and whatever house it touches in the natal chart, or even whatever house it's transiting, in the present day or in the future, those can bring about major upheavals and changes and growth in that area of your life. So I'm going to go over what it means when Pluto is moving through the houses. If you'd like to know what a house is and you're not sure, click the link below. I have a link to my houses video that explains what a house is. It's not an actual house where people live. It's within the birth chart. So click on that and you can watch more. So I just want to give a little more background on who Pluto is. So essentially Pluto, I mentioned before, I'm a Scorpio. I love Pluto, but Pluto rules Scorpio. So when you think of Scorpio as a sign, it's all about transformation. It's all about destruction in order to build and in order to grow. It represents going beneath the surface, the esoteric side of life, the deeper side of life, taking things more than just at face value. They're very extremely deep people. Who cannot, skim over the surface and take life, lightly. So you can kind of match the energy of Pluto with a Scorpio person. So Pluto is a generational planet. So a generational planet, it means that a certain part of a generation has a specific planet and sign placement. My generation, for example, is Pluto and Scorpio, and that tends to be a lot of millennials, hence why we are into astrology. But, Pluto in Scorpio, it's in its home sign. So this is a very potent placement. So Pluto spends about 21 years in each sign on average. So about 12 to 31 years. It really depends on the sign. So whole generations of people have a certain Pluto in sign placement. The houses are varying because it depends on your specific birth chart, what house Pluto falls in, but the Pluto in sign is specific to a certain generation. So I'm going to start with the first house. This is an Aries house, but the first house rules the self. And having Pluto in your first house of self, you may have some sort of magnetism that you're not aware of, where you just draw people in. When you enter a room, you have a presence that people, notice you, and you may be a little mysterious. But you as yourself, you carry Pluto on your ascendant. So I would say, it's a little similar to a Scorpio rising. And this person could also be a little polarizing, where some people gravitate towards you and you have a magnetic pull, or some people, you may repel some people. It's a very polarizing placement. But generally these people, when they enter a situation and when dealing with other people, they can bring about change. Pluto is the planet of transformation and change. So, you could change how people feel about a certain topic just by speaking and being yourself and showing up and being present. You can yourself just experience a lot of different changes visually to yourself and changes within, and go through different cycles in your life a lot more than other people do. So this is a very powerful placement. I think it's great to be aware of having Pluto on your ascendant, or, in your first house, in order to work with this energy, and really harness it. And, sometimes all these changes can be jarring and can be a lot, but having the awareness and understanding that you have this power can help you work through those. And ultimately, you'll know this is ultimately going to make me a better person. And I'm offering a different perspective, and something, transformative to the world to better other people. So, I think it's a powerful placement. And I think I own it, Speaking of a famous Pluto in the first placement, Stephen King, for instance, he has a Pluto in the first. Now, think of all of the, stories and the way that he is as a person. He's just into the creepy, side of life. And it's also Pluto in Leo on top of it. So creative expression and writing and drama. It's just clear, what type of person he is with Pluto on in the first house. So moving on to Pluto in the second house. So this is a Taurus house. Pluto in the second house represents, so the second house represents self-worth. And not only self-worth, but how you earn your income, how you earn money, and the ways that you go about it. And Pluto in this house, you may find yourself earning your income in a deeper and more transformative way. You may also feel very deeply about the resources you accumulate and the money that you make. And, this is how you feel power. You may become obsessive about accumulating wealth. This is the shadow side, I would say, of this type of placement. You may experience loss of, your resources and earned income. And through that, this is very Plutonic, through that loss, understand, how to move forward and budget properly. And when you do get that income back, you will know the right ways of going about managing your finances and managing your wealth, and your self-worth. You also are very intuitive about how to make money. Pluto is the mark of intuition. And you may be able to spot like a good real estate deal, or you may be able to see a investment in a company that will do well down the road, and you just have a gut feeling that, this is a great investment. I think I need to go ahead and do it. And then 10 years later, your, wallet and your bank account thanks you. So this is a very powerful placement to have in terms of business, and earning an income as well. It's very interesting. A famous Pluto in the second house, Bill Gates. Pluto in the second house, in Leo. Clearly he knew how to invest and business opportunities and how to earn an income, because he's a billionaire for crying out loud. So Pluto in the third house, this is a Gemini house, the third house. This is the house that rules communication and siblings. And having Pluto in this house means your communication style, and how you converse with people goes way beneath the surface. You are just like, a Scorpio in energy wise. You are not into skimming over the surface when it comes to topics. You want to get to the heart of the matter. You really want to fully understand and go beneath the surface. And not only that, with your speech, you can transform. Your opinion may not always be the most popular, but at the end of the day, the way that you, communicate with people and the things you communicate can be life-changing and really, spark transformation and spark change. People with this placement are they don't take things at face value. They're not someone to read. They're not ones to read something in a magazine or a newspaper and say like, oh, this must be true. They're like, okay, well, I saw this source, so I'm going to go out of my way to research around this topic and, talk to other people and then form my opinion. I don't accept everything, face value and as truth. And people with Pluto in the third have just like a natural curiosity. They're always asking questions. They always are learning, and they become obsessive about learning and taking in information and communicating. So these people can be very talented writers. These people can be, very enthusiastic about not only communicating through written form or spoken word, but in a deeper way, and not just skimming over the surface, and not just, fluffy topics. And a famous Pluto in the third house is Martin Luther King Jr. He had Pluto in Cancer in the third house. I mean, come on. I have a dream speech, like, that just hits right to the core. Just listen to that. That is the essence of Pluto in the third house, especially, in Cancer, to evoke that emotion. And he's able to really not only evoke that emotion, but he could feel and feed off of crowds and then convey that energy back and really move people. So that definitely explains Pluto in the third house to a T. So now I'm going to go into Pluto in the fourth house. And this is a Cancer house. And this rules the home, the family, your ancestral roots, the home in the early life especially. And people with this placement, could have experienced upheaval. They could have experienced major shifts and changes that have gone on, not only in their early life in the home, but throughout their lives. This is just a constant theme. There may have been something karmic in their ancestry, some big event or some action that happened that's kind of driving the energy of what's going on in their home today. Just for instance, one famous Pluto in the fourth is Meghan Markle. And you take a look at just some of the things she's gone through with her half-sibling and father and her side of the family. This is, a classic example of a Pluto in the fourth house placement. Then not only that, now, her home went from, California, she's being, just chilling as an actress, to now she's in Buckingham Palace. So, and, these crazy shifts can completely happen to you. And she has Pluto in Libra in the fourth. So, this is the foundation, and this not only there can be some violence in the home, maybe growing up. This is like a very dark part of it, but some people with this placement could experience, abuse at home, maybe violence, and just things happening that completely shifted their perspective for the rest of their lives. So the home can be a little bit of a rough spot for these people with this placement. But again, like I've mentioned in the earlier video, through struggle and through transformation, and through the death of things and things happening, you can rise from the ashes, and see the light and transform yourself completely through these experiences as well. So this can be a tough placement. I would say I think it's one of the toughest Pluto placements, because the home is your foundation as a person. So having that be such a turbulent, transformative, changeable thing, it can definitely affect you for the rest of your life. And I think also as a result of having experienced these traumas and this difficulty, these people are extremely empathetic, and a lot of them can be good counselors and psychologists and healers. Having gone through those experiences, they can take a look at people and really understand what they're going through, and match that and be a good therapist and healer to other people. Pluto in the fifth house. This is the house of Leo. This is the house of creative expression, and children and fun and romance, but not serious romances, dating and casual. So having Pluto in this house means you are serious about creativity. You're serious about your romance. You're just a serious person in this realm of your life. And a famous Pluto in the 5th house is John Lennon, who is a Pluto in Leo in its own house in the 5th house. So, I mean, if you just take a look at him as an artist and as a person, he was one of the Beatles to veer off and go completely rogue, and just went on a campaign for peace with Yoko Ono, and wanted to transform the world through his creative expression. So that is essentially Pluto in the 5th house, is you want to transform the world through your creative expression. You want to transform people through expressing yourself. And surface level relationships are not for you. You're not the type of person to date around and think it's fun and really not think deeply about another person. It's just not for you. So you are not a casual dater. You are more of a one-person, one-to-one relationship type of person, and you really want to get to know a person on a deeper level. You not only, this is similar to the sign Scorpio that I've mentioned in my Scorpio Sun video, and actually I should shout out that you can watch more on the Scorpio energy, the link below as well. But you see sex as a way to get to know your partner. It's not a casual act for you. It's not a casual thing. And that's similar to the sign of Scorpio. So, you want to transform. Another famous musician with this placement is Lady Gaga. She also, she started off pop princess, but she still had a little edge to her, and she still really wanted to prove to the world that she was an artist, and she still does that to this day. She really doesn't care about what her record label thinks. She wants to produce work that she thinks is going to transform the world and make people happy, and things that she appreciates and makes her feel happy and fulfilled. So what I would say is all about, that's what Pluto in the 5th house is all about, is creativity and transforming people's lives through that creativity. So moving on to Pluto in the 6th house. The 6th house is a Virgo house, and Virgo in the 6th house is where health and your daily routine, and it's not just work in terms of like the 10th house and Capricorn with achievement, but it's more the tasks and the everyday things that you have to do with work, the type of work, the daily labor. It has to do with organization and exercise. So Pluto in the 6th house, these people can really, they can kind of tend to be health nuts. They could kind of tend to really focus on transforming their health, doing work that transforms others' lives. They could be a great personal trainer or a nutritionist. A famous Pluto in the 6th house is Deepak Chopra. He's transforming people's lives through spiritual health and meditation, and that's a daily practice. So that's a very Virgo placement to have Pluto. Has Pluto in Leo, so he's very creative. I mean, he has these apps with Oprah, and he has his own social media and media company. So he really is using his creativity to transform people's daily lives. You may feel also obsession with the work that you do, and be a little bit of a workaholic. It may be a little difficult for you to take criticism. You really put your all and you're extremely obsessive when it comes to your work. And you may go through a period where you burn out. This is very Plutonic. You burn out and something happens that shifts your mentality, and you start to take it easy. You could take a toll on your health if you don't take it easy. I have Pluto transiting my 6th house in Capricorn right now, and just last week I was very, very sick, and ended up in the hospital and had to get an IV for severe dehydration because I was really working extremely hard. So people with Pluto in the 6th house natally have to be careful of that and take care of their health. So you can go from opposite end of the spectrum where, you're very health conscious and obsessive about it and really want to change your diet and make things work to be as healthy as possible. Or you may overwork yourself and kind of yo-yo and not really pay much attention to it and experience burnout. So that's something to be a little bit careful about with this placement. So the next placement is Pluto in the 7th house. This is a Libra house. This house is all about one-on-one relationships, close relationships, both business and personal, and it's really all about balance. So when you have Pluto, this destructive, transformative planet in this house, there can be a flavor of obsession with your relationships, control issues, power struggles. And you're finding you're being triggered by certain things with partners, or you're triggering something primal in your partner. But relationships can be a point of contention for you in your life. And not only that, there is a lot to learn from specific things that happen in your relationships and to grow from them and move forward. Brianna, I don't think I need to really mention some of the things that have happened in her personal life because, she is a celebrity and it's everywhere. But she has Pluto and Scorpio. So the themes of this type of placement, especially Pluto in the sign of Scorpio in the 7th house, is just obsession, power struggle, control. And, the point of Pluto as a planet is to overcome these obstacles and learn from the things that happen with Pluto and whatever house it's touching. You may experience betrayal, you may experience violence, you may experience some negative downsides to relationships in this placement. And the best thing that you can do with a placement like this and having these experience is understanding your fear of loss, betrayal, and how that fear is projecting and creating some of these scenarios. So I think understanding that fear and owning it and getting over it is the best way to work with Pluto in this placement and to move forward, to have more positive and fulfilling relationships, because you can. The whole point of a difficult placement is everyone has a difficult placement in their life, and the whole point of this one is to use the experiences you've had to rise above like a phoenix. The phoenix is another symbol of Scorpio and Pluto, but rise above the ashes and being better and not using your circumstance as an excuse, but moving forward and understanding this is the mess that I've left in the past, and this is how I'm going to move forward, and this is how I can attract healthier people and not have to fear abandonment and betrayal as much in your life. So moving on from the 7th house is the 8th house, and this is the Scorpio house. Pluto is at home in this house. So when you have Pluto in the 8th house, this is the house of everything taboo. This is the house of sex. This is the house of death. This is the house of what's beneath the surface. This is the house of inheritance. This is the house of earnings that do not belong to you from other people. It's taxes and things that you can't avoid, and sexual magnetism. And so having Pluto in this house actually creates a very psychic person, a psychic and magnetic person. Somebody with Pluto in the 8th, you cannot get a lie past these people, no matter what sign they are. They can be Libra, they can be Gemini, they can be, an air, something air, and when you lie to these people, they can see right through you. They can see right through fake things. They feel a natural magnetism when they walk in a room, similar to first house people, and people don't know what it is. These people are drawn towards the occult, which means, tarot and astrology and witchcraft and voodoo. They're just naturally drawn to these sides of life, and understanding spirituality, and understanding that on a more deep level. Speaking of magnetism, a famous Pluto in the 8th house is Bridget Bardot. Not only that, she had Lilith in the 8th house as well. So using raw feminine sexuality, that was her trademark. And she just had this magnetic pull that you could not explain, in the eyes and the way that she was. So I would say she was a great embodiment for Pluto in the 8th house. These people crave intimacy. I would say also similar to Pluto in the 5th house as far as sex and intimacy. These people are they seek deeper connection when it comes to that. But not only that, they're extremely private people. They just don't want people in their love life business. They don't want people in their sexual business. They're extremely private about this part. Honestly, about a lot of aspects of their life. Even if they're a Sagittarius, which is completely open, they are actually extremely private, and they may have things that they've never told, the outside world, and haven't shared with many people. And they are not surface level with sexual partners, and they prefer and crave deep intimacy. So Pluto in the 9th house. The 9th house is a Sagittarius house, and the 9th house is all about higher learning, philosophy, wisdom, spreading that wisdom. The guru is in this house, education. And having Pluto in the 9th house is you are very serious about these parts of life. Not only learning on a higher level, but transmitting those learnings and teaching the world is extremely important to you. For instance, a famous Pluto in the 9th house, which happens to be in Leo, is Bernie Sanders, who is extremely passionate politician, and not only extremely passionate, but he completely goes against and is changing the status quo of what a politician should be. Bernie 2020. So, someone with this type of placement wants to change the world, and they appreciate other cultures and learn from other cultures and learn from other people's experiences, and use those learnings. They really learn from experience. That's why, we joke about Sagittarius being the world traveler, but having that type of energy means you want to, in order to grow and expand and learn about the world, you have to travel, you have to meet people, you have to talk to people from different walks of life, and you're able to change the world and champion causes based on those learnings. So this is, I think, a great placement to have. You can be a very great speaker and lecturer, politician, teacher. So someone with this type of energy can really feel the drive to use their voice to teach the world and change the world. So moving on to Pluto in the 10th house. This is the Capricorn house. So this is where achievement and acknowledgement for your hard work, how you present yourself to the public. This is all in this house. So when you have Pluto in this house, you can really become very obsessive and driven, and really want to make a difference in terms of your achievement in the world. For example, someone who has a famous Pluto in the 10th is Kim Kardashian. So having this type of placement makes you extremely driven, extremely obsessive about taking the lead, and showing the world that working hard and showing the world that you're a leader. A unique person. You stand out from the crowd in terms of the public. kind of like Pluto in the ascendant or first house. Pluto in the 10th house can have a little bit of a love-hate reaction to these people publicly. You know, when you think about, as I've mentioned, Kim Kardashian it has this placement. You know, you stand out from the crowd, but there's always going to be a little bit of hate coming your way. But that, as a result, working with your Pluto ends up building your career and ends up strengthening you and making you better ultimately. These types of people can become power hungry when it comes to their career and can really overwork themselves and really just become nose to the grindstone type of people in order to move themselves forward. Other times these people can be perfectionists and really just be afraid of failure, and obviously in the nature of Pluto they can fail and then through that or go through a very difficult experience on their path to fame, and through that difficult experience it ends up making them you know, better, and I would say these people have to kind of work through some of those failures and really work through the pain of those experiences to then transform themselves, you know, and essentially soar and become their best self in terms of the public eye. Pluto in the 11th house. The 11th house is the Aquarius house. And so this is all about your network and groups. And it's also the house of the humanitarian and bettering humanity and thinking of ways to change and move forward humanity. Albert Einstein was a famous Pluto in Taurus in the 11th house. And, you know, through his methodology and his genius and research, he changed the world with that knowledge and used his skills to better and move forward humanity. So that is what this placement is all about. And it's very funny how, you know, you see memes that, I don't know, he failed math class and was held back from certain grades and things like that. He went through difficulty in his early life to get him to that place that he was able to better humanity, and that's very Plutonic. So people with this type of placement really want to use their ideas and their network and the friends that they have and loose connections or the internet to really spread a message and change and impact the world in a deeper and more profound way. These people actually really only like to hang out in groups if it's bettering humanity or if it's doing something profound and deep. Like they're not one to just hang out in a group, you know, and grab drinks and just chill. They would prefer to go to a climate change action meetup or go to a protest or plan a protest. These people much rather use their extra free time and their network to be doing things to move along humanity and better and champion a certain cause. So it's very interesting how people operate. They're private, but if they're going to be in the public and they're going to be out and socializing, it has to be for a real reason. You also may experience some power struggles when it comes to groups. You know, you have a hard time not being in the powerful leadership role when it comes to your climate action group or your anti-racism march. Like you want to be the dominant force when it comes to groups. So it's hard for you to take a back seat in those areas. And I think, you know, one Pluto lesson that you can learn is understanding your own power in terms of social change and affecting change in the world. You know, on the opposite end of the spectrum, you may not understand your own power and take a back seat and kind of let others use, you know, your energy to move themselves forward. But I think ultimately once you realize the power that you have to promote change and be a force to be reckoned with, you will be a force to be reckoned with, and people will listen to you because you have that energy, you have that flair about you, to change people's minds. You will ultimately be a great leader and be a great champion of a cause through understanding and learning about these power struggles. So we are at the last house, the Pisces house. So this is Pluto in the 12th. And this is a very powerful placement. I always say, the 8th and the 12th house can be very psychic placements. And Pluto in the 12th is no exception. Someone with Pluto in the 12th can experience just a lot of crisis and transformation throughout their lives, some loss, death. There can be things from past life that you're bringing over. The 12th house rules dreams and other realms. So having Pluto here opens you up and makes you more receptive to the universe downloading information, and you may just know things sometimes and just not be able to explain why you know them. You can be extremely empathetic and may sometimes have to battle addiction and battle certain demons in your life that you can't explain. But I think through the traumas and things that have happened in your life, you can become a great healer and have some serious empathy for other people. Some of these people can make great astrologers or psychics and be able to use what has happened to them in the past or the type of energies that they face in order to help other people problem solve. So it's taking their own transformation and using it to help others. That's what also Pisces is, a very service oriented sign. So having Pluto in the 12th house, it kind of colors your Pluto placement with that similar self-sacrificing savior type of energy for other people. I think some things to be careful of are not letting people take advantage of your good nature and empathy. I think that can be common with empaths in general. And also not getting too caught up with running away from feelings or running away from certain things, which the 12th house people can tend to do that. It's facing that pain head on and trying to understand it, and then using that pain to help others and to move forward in your life in a more positive way. I think actually out of all the houses, my recommendation for someone with a Pluto in the 12th house placement is meditation and using time alone. These people really need solitude to really contemplate and meditate and look inward to find out what their own personal power is, because it's under the surface, it's hidden. The 12th house is all that's hidden and in the spiritual realm. So your personal power is in a whole different place than everybody else's. So in order for you to find that, it's extremely important to seek solitude sometimes and meditate. I think also seeking spiritual healers and astrologers is a great way to work with this placement to understand it even more. So that is my Pluto through the houses video. I encourage you all, if you would love to know more about your Pluto placement, what sign it's in, what house it's in, and what planets it's making aspects to, please contact me. You can book a reading through the link below, and I will completely help you with all these details and get you on the path to understanding your Pluto even further.